Hey everybody, Brian Von Vier here. I got a question for everyone out there listening in. Who was your first character to die in a TTRPG, and how did you react to it? Let us know in the comments below, but prepare yourself for part 1. At the end of my very first campaign, we had made our way to the Vampire Lord's castle, where he was attempting to pull our world into the Shadowfell. The party consisted of me, as a rogue, a Hexblade warlock who recalled his weapon like Thor, and a ranger with a panther companion. The Vampire Lord was a tough battle, and though we had nearly killed him, the ranger and I were down, and the warlock was low on HP. The warlock is grappled by the big bad evil guy and held up in the air. Cue stereotypical speech about having defeated us. The warlock fails his attempt to get out of the grapple, but his hands are free, so he holds it out in front of him. The axe of the warlock flies across the room and kills the BBEG. The ranger is healed by the warlock, but I have failed my death saves. Our DM made death saves secretly for us to make the battle more intense, so I was shocked. The ranger and warlock came to my side. My character had been the happy-go-lucky character the whole time, and kind of an annoyance, so it felt only in character to have him realize that this time, there wasn't a joke. Did we win? Yes, we did. Good. I was hoping after this, we could go get some beer. Looks like that hope is lost. Don't give up, friend. We can get you to a healer. No, I'm not gonna make it. I've led a fortunate life to have friends like you. I only wish for you to live fortunately as well. With those words, my character died. I was completely unprepared, but we all talked about it later, and the rest of the group said it was the best ending they could have had, even if it was bittersweet. My first game, I ran Lost Mines of Phandelver with my family, while also having a PC, so I could get a feel for how the game works on both sides. Don't worry, I did no role-playing with my PC, as I was already well aware of the numerous DM PC horror stories. I decided to play a tiefling monk, though I can't remember their name. Inside Cragmaw Hideout, I tried scaling the passage with unstable footing, then rolled a nat 1 on my dex save and took 11 damage, killing my monk. Nobody had any healing spells or potions, all of them dumped in wisdom and kept failing their medicine checks, 9 checks, all failures, and I failed all 3 death saves. Extremely anticlimactic, but I was honestly not surprised at the result, as I'd been rolling low all day, as both a player and a DM. Now, close to 3 years later, I still roll terribly as a player, but as a DM, I can't seem to get anything near, let alone below, average. It must be my Comanche blood. My first character to die was my Goblin Tempest Eggs Mixzap. She died by a magical sleep put on her by some plants. It dealt psychic damage every time you tried to wake up, aka kill yourself, in the dream. I believe it was 3 psychic damage that made me start the death saving throws. I rolled a 2, a 7, and a nat 1 to really rub it in that Eggs was not waking up. I felt indifferent. It was the beginning of the campaign, and I never got attached to her. Pretty recent thing from a month ago. Yenhorn, a half-elf lore bard arcane trickster. He was the chaotic, reckless kind of character, always making elaborate plans for dealing with problems and ending up doing something stupid like forgetting to check for traps, or trying to talk to mushroom people by inhaling their spores. That always sounds fun. He was fun to play, but it was a character made by noob, with intentions to fill the role hole in the team, and had no real idea for himself. I started to like him, and understanding how to bard, but then my team decided to head-on attack is a good idea to approach a red dragon guarded by kobolds. We were level 9, and it was going quite good actually. Everything went to hell in a handbasket when it turned out the dragon sees pretty well through my potion of greater invisibility. And when I dropped, I lost concentration on the fly spell I had on our fighter, so she dropped too. And I was invisible, so nobody could heal me. I was surprisingly okay with the outcome. I made a few bad decisions while making this character, and we could all start anew. Now, with a bit more knowledge about classes, and we are still noobs, but at least our new characters actually have some backstories. I'm a cleric now, and as stressful as it can be, I love playing a proper support. Hey, support mains out there, all the love to all of you. His name was Damakos, a tiefling sorcerer who was a simple farmhand that found an eldritch tome one day while attending the fields. Out of curiosity, he started to read the book when he was done for the day, and spent the entire night in a mental fixation with the book. Its raw arcane power burned into his mind, and when he came to, he threw the book into a fire, destroying it once and for all. But the damage was too late. The tome gave him his magical abilities. No pact was made, so he couldn't be a warlock. It opened his mind to the abyssal language and even allowed him to see ghosts. However, the dark nature of the tome slowly corroded his mind. When faced with an enemy, Damakos would ignore allies in favor of damaging the enemy. His fixation to destroying the enemy meant he used his spell slots in order of strongest to weakest to kill them faster. His pleasant demeanor slowly turned into that of the edgelord. I wanted to explore character development and growth in a campaign. Or it would have been, however, at second level, the party was tracking down a necromancer to a cave and decided to camp for the night before investigating, though the party took turns to keep an eye out in case the necromancer fled. He tried, and as first watch, Damakos scared him back into the cave with a minor illusion. Given the necromancer was awake and looking to escape, the party decided to finish it off here and now. Damakos being the only one ready to engage, as the DM did the "you can't sleep in armor" realism. Went first to buy the party some time. Damakos stood at the entrance to the cave and proceeded to take 7 salvos of magic missile to the face, as the necromancer decided to unload an entire wand of magic missiles on Damakos. The well-crafted explosion into a hopeless struggle for sanity was met with perma-death, as Damakos went from full health to negative health in the span of one surprise round. His body was unceremoniously raised from the dead to fight his companions before the owner of the tome reached out from hell to drag Damakos' undead corpse as debt owed for destroying the book. To say the least, I was livid as a player. Not only was Damakos created as a way to break away from the character type I ran in the last campaign that the DM let party turn sour and toxic to each other, but now the new table DM just pulled 7 actions at once to completely decimate my new character. So I decided to say, f*** it, and rolled a new character. Introducing Lepri, a deep gnome drunken fist master sent to the surface world to look for his brethren. The character was constantly drunk, constantly sarcastic, did the stupidest things possible, including but not limited to, drunkenly asked for a cookie from the big bad evil guy's right-hand man, something I would do, used a ring of water walking to cross a river nonchalantly and asked a bandit keep for a cup of sugar, something I would do again, was captured and stripped regularly and loudly questioned while multiple villains had a gnome fetish, willingly shook hands with an Azer despite being low on HP, and the handshake itself would cause fire damage. Stole from countless altars to prove that if gods exist, they didn't care about material things. Nearly stole a lich's philanthropy simply because the lich was somehow willing to ally themselves to the party, but specifically hated Lepri for no reason the DM would give. As in, everyone was allowed to roam the lich's mansion, but Lepri was told to stay outside and never be seen by the lich, ever. DM also intervened when Lepri was on his way to steal the philanthropy. It's a shame I could not play Lepri more. The DM gave up on the campaign and I lost touch with the table when I realized how many toxic red flags the table was waving around the place. My first ever D&D session. I made a little cat man and named him Kugo, a warlock who mostly relied on his high strength stat because he mostly missed with magic. Not a tabaxi though. My DM sent me a link to a homebrew race called Felis, and I instantly fell in love with the race of, well, just cats. Kugo was an interesting character. He mainly used lightning magic, but only used it to enhance his melee attacks or use it to throw rocks. The first session was just an introduction campaign, We had a tiefling bard, lizardfolk barbarian, human cleric, gnome wizard, and of course, a feeless cat warlock. We set out to raid a goblin mine, but on the way there, our barbarian got distracted and ended up taking a wrong turn. So we followed because we didn't want to let him do something stupid. As we followed, we ran into some skeletons where I kept rolling very poorly and missed basically all my attacks and spells. When we finally killed all the skeletons, we continued following our barbarian. We somehow ended up at a massive portal to hell where a demon lord confronted us and told us to run or he'd kill us instantly. I asked my DM if I could throw a rock using my lightning magic, and the DM said yes, but asked me if I was sure about this, since it was a demon, which we knew nothing about. Without hesitation, I picked up the die and rolled that one. You pick up a rock and infuse it with your lightning magic. With all your might, you throw the rock at the demon. It hits, but it bounces off him like a bouncy ball and comes back and hits you square in the face. The DM rolled for damage, and I basically ended up one-shotting myself. I couldn't stop laughing about it, and we ended up dubbing the campaign of Unfortunate Rolls. I still laugh about it to this day. My first ever character for 5th edition was a big, burly, bearded wizard named Gunther, who spoke with a vaguely Swedish accent and had the demeanor of Tommy Wiseau. Oh god. I played some TTRPGs before, but they were usually more narrative and RP focused rather than the tactical and complex game that is D&D. We were playing Tomb of Annihilation, and I was hopping in right as the party was about to descend into the part of the dungeon. So we got to interacting. Everyone really seemed to enjoy my character and his quirky mannerisms as we went about exploring the area and immediately outside of the tomb, and then we walked into a hidden chamber and we set off some kind of trap encounter that ended up putting us against a zombie beholder. We all roll initiative. The beholder ends up one turn in front of me. It rolls its array of eye ray attacks, and by pure awful luck, my wizard is hit with a disintegration ray, and I'm told to roll a con saving throw. It's a fucking nat 1. My character is turned into a puff of dust, and because of the nature of the TOA adventure and the death curse the players are trying to stop, his soul is immediately snatched up by Asarak, and my poor wizard is irrevocably dead. 45 minutes into my first game, first round of combat ever, and I'm already dead. The whole table was really quiet, and the DM looked like he wanted to die. I wasn't sure how to react at first, but not gonna lie, I was a little bit pissed. So I ended up going off and playing XCOM for about an hour before returning when they were at a better place to add a new character, and I had some time to process the tragedy. The DM did have to reassure me that the module isn't as much of a meat grinder as that encounter made it seem like, and convinced me to roll up a new character, a drow bard. That new character ended up making it to the end of the game okay, so it worked out in the end. A couple years later, I even got to play my wizard again in an arena-type game, this time at higher levels so he wouldn't insta-die as easily. We still give that DM shit about the incident though. He holds to the opinion that his biggest mistake was putting a bunch of newbies into Tomb of Annihilation as their first adventure instead of something less fatality heavy. And now anytime a character or NPC is unexpectedly cut down in their prime, we refer to it as pulling a Gunther. Hey everybody, Brian Von Va here, back at it again to check in after the vid. Make sure everybody leaves a like, subscribes, and rings that bell to get notified whenever we post or go live. And hey, if you have a story you'd like to submit to us, do so on r/MrRipper. And if you'd like to check out even more content, head on over to our secondary channel, Riptovia. Links are in the description below. And of course, if you love me, come over to Twitch and YouTube, Brian Von Va, so you can come hang out with me, your favorite voice actor from Ohio. All the love, everybody. Please stay safe out there and be happy. And hey, remember, we're all rooting for every single one of you, and we're proud of all of you for making it through this crazy, crazy year. We're getting there, everyone. Just keep on holding on, and make sure to take good care of yourselves. All the love, and we will see you again very soon. Bye for now.